and Kirsty went in the sauna yesterday. We were discussing it last night. And what was Kirsty saying? Somebody put some old bass oil in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's got to burn your eyes.
No, it's for...
menthol.
Like menthol,
Yeah, but in a sauna, I could see it in a steam room, but in a sauna, surely that's against the rules, right?
Yeah, well, I thought it should... I didn't put it on, but I thought it should go... It'd be better in a steam room. But no, I mean, it didn't burn your eyes or anything, but you could...
Yeah, I bet you it cleared you out.
Yeah, definitely, yeah. It was just a weird one. So this guy came in and he was like...
Where's this sauna?
Just on here.
Like a pop-up one?
No, we've got a gym just like on Long Ashes, which is... it's like a leisure complex, so there's like a little cafe and stuff as well in there, and swimming pool. And yeah, we'd gone in, and then this guy came in, there were 3 people, and he says, "Oh, I thought he said, do you want some oil?" And I was like thinking he was offering me some oil to like rub in. I was like, "Oh no, I'm all right." Yeah. And then I realised that's it. Yeah, and I thought, I don't really want you to do that, mate. To be honest, I mean, you can do my feet, but I don't need to do my back. Yeah. And then but I realised he meant he was just going to put it on the,
right.
you know,
to
but it was weird having,
it
was weird having it in the sauna because like steam room, you sometimes go in and you kind of can.
Have you ever had
I thwacked it with my arm.
What's it called? Where they attack you with a towel?
Cool.
Like whipping you out.
Yeah. We'll try not to move around too much. I can't promise.
Dan Lawson does a sauna down south, doesn't he?
Yeah.
So Dan brought his sauna to one of James's races, and I think it was a race. Was it a race? Or he did a weekend or something. Anyway, so I'd just recovered from a chest infection, and I went into this, and Dan was like, "Oh, get in the sauna, lads! Come on, you get in." Me and James went in the sauna, and it was like and he does this thing with a towel where he's doing like a mad dance, but he's also whipping the hot air at you like that, really aggressively. So like. That's one of the last times I got in the sauna because I was just getting attacked by Dan Lawson with a towel like this.
It just sounds way too chaotic for a sauna.
Mostly like me and James, it's like just, like...
Doesn't sound like a calm environment.
I feel like if I move around too
James
much
is just trying to relax from his event, and it's like, Dan's attacking us with this thing, and I'm not into... I love a sauna, but I don't want to get in the cold thing afterwards, so it was just like, get me out of here. Yeah.
Calm down. No.
But yeah, I've not experienced oil in there yet, no.
All rolling bent.
These two are getting a bit lively. Not Holly and Gary. I mean the dogs. Like
yeah, if you're watching.
Yeah. Right, Luna, you need to calm down, don't you? You need to calm down. Good girl. That's it. How was the journey over, Holly?
Yeah, it wasn't too bad actually. It was pretty easy getting across. So yeah.
Which way did you come down? Because Hugh, who's just been on, he came through Outershore, like the deepest, darkest part of the Dales. Like,
I think I went the boring way.
Yeah.
I was just following cars just the whole time, kind of zoned out a bit. It was fine, but it didn't sound as much fun as he had. So.
Yeah, no, it's quite a nice, quite a nice journey down. And then, is this the first time in Thresfield?
Yes, surprising as it may be. Yes, this is the first time in Thresfield.
Because the Fellsman finishes here. I don't know if I don't know if that's on your list.
No, I've known a bunch of people that have done it and they really enjoyed it, but not yet on the list. So.
Classic. Yeah, you know about Fellsman, Gary?
Yeah, I've never done it. I had about one of those ones. I've had an entry a couple of years, and then it's usually that time of year where you're injured or something. So
yeah.
So they have to have the waterproof top that looks more like some form of fish bat.
Yes,
yeah.
That's
Which probably sounds really weird, but if you look it up, it genuinely does look like some form of combination of like a fish and a bat. It's bizarre, but yeah.
Yeah, definitely one to do, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, it's got to be on the list. I mean, Anna Llewellyn won it outright, didn't she? This last year.
It's been going that long. I'm glad it survived because it seems to have picked up again. I think it went through a period of low entries, but yeah.
Yeah. No, fingers crossed it'll keep.
You should do it. You're only running home.
I know, mate. Actually, there's something...
all us lot doing it.
Something quite nice about just running home as well, isn't there? You know? Yeah. It'd be worse the other way.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it's much better than if you do a race where you run past home, because then you have that horrible bit of like, do I just stop? Just go and get a cup of tea.
Yeah, you would as well, wouldn't you? Soon sack it off, yeah.
We'll talk about it, but that's basically what I do at Dragon's Back. I'm just running away from home for 6 days. It's like
getting
end up
further
at
and
the wrong end
further
of the
away.
country,
Yeah.
Much rather do it the other way. Yeah. Right.
Okay, let's crack on. So welcome to the RUNcensored podcast with Gary House, me, Ben Mounter, and another special guest today, Holly Wootten. Holly, thank you
Hi.
for joining us.
You're most welcome. Thank you for having me.
I'm going to put you on the spot straight away because
Oh,
I'm
God,
going to ask you
okay.
for an introduction. I'm not going to do it. I'm going to let you introduce yourself so you can do it however you want. If you do a bad job, I'll jump
It's
in.
my own fault. Okay, I suppose people have often asked like what's my speciality in terms of running, and I think I'd probably have to say I don't really have any idea, and probably my race catalogue doesn't really shine a particular light onto that either. I've done a bunch of sky races, which are sort of shorter around, I guess, like the 3 hour, sort of 3 to 4 hour mark, and then obviously done Dragon's Back, which is at the opposite end of the spectrum. And I've done all right at kind of both ends. So I think I'm a bit of a versatile runner, I suppose. I am a running coach as well, and I live in the lakes with 2 very chaotic border terriers.
So you're used to chaotic dogs, which is great
Yes.
because we've obviously got Pete and Luna running around. I think actually Chris has banned them and put them in the kitchen
I've had
because
to
they were
reject,
getting a bit.
I've had to reject Luna.
Yeah, she crowd
Not
control.
out of the house. Just onto
she's in the
main
kitchen.
road.
She was getting a bit frisky. That's a good intro. I don't need to jump in there, but
Where in the lakes are you, Holly?
So I live in Braithwaite, just outside of
Oh,
Keswick.
yeah. More and more people that come on here, like they're either in the lakes or they're moving to the lakes. It
you
seems.
can see why. And Hugh, who was our last guest, who your teammate, he's going up to Lex. Is he renting a room off you?
No, but literally just round the corner.
Perfect. So you're building the Altra team. I mean, you just need Keith there now,
Yeah,
don't you?
exactly.
Yeah.
He's not too far away, but we'll just kidnap him at some point and get him over there.
Now, I'm surprised because we only met, I'd say, 2 months ago, and I can't believe we've never met in person before because we must have been to loads of races, the same races together, and you know a lot of people that I know really well. So like our friendship circle is very close, but we spent some time together, didn't we, in Teen at an Altra training camp. It was a great few days. We got to know each other a bit more. We showed the Altra international team how to fell run as well, didn't we?
Yes,
Descending.
we did actually. That was really good fun. I thought you were going to say we showed them true English.
Yeah, we should talk about that, actually, shouldn't we? Because you introduced a saying to the Italians, which was full of beans, as if like full of energy and excitement, and it doesn't translate, does it? As we
it
learn.
got met with complete blank expressions because when you think about it, it doesn't really make any sense.
Because the translation is piano di fagioli, which just it doesn't.
What is it?
Piano di fagioli. I know I've not pronounced that very well.
It's,
Sorry for our Italian
Ben's
listeners.
Duolingo
But actually, no. I know we had Hugh on and he speaks very fluent Spanish, actually. My Italian is very basic, but I do know that they are the words. I've probably said them wrong, but it doesn't translate. And he had a big laugh, didn't he, at our expense?
Because then it was the translating... virtually the equivalent back into English came out as, what was it, fire in the ass? So, which kind of works with being full of beans. We kind of managed to tie it all back in. But
Coffee beans.
that was our added extra for the Italians of the...
It's very funny now because every time they do a race, we comment on their Instagram and like just put full of beans or piano di fagioli.
I think it went down well. I think it brought us all together. So.
Brilliant. So no, it was a good trip, but it was nice spending some time with you, Holly, because I remember before I went out there, one of our mutual friends, Lou, she runs for Keswick. She's an absolute legend, isn't she, in the sport? I mean, she's been around long enough now to be, have done almost every fell race on the calendar, and she's competed at a really high level. And she said to me, "You'll love Holly. She's just really nice." That's what she said to me before I went, and you are really nice. And it was nice to spend some time with it. So I'm really pleased we could get you on the podcast because I think we're going to have a great chat. And the chat is going to be all about one of your recent achievements, which is down Gary's neck of the woods, the Dragon's Back. I mean, tell us about the Dragon's Back. Tell us about the race, first of all, for those people that have never heard of what the Dragon's Back is.
Okay, so the race... in and of itself just sounds completely bonkers. So it's 380k from North Wales to South, from castle to castle, Conwy to Cardiff. And the big part of it is that you do 17,000 plus meters of elevation over it. It's split over 6 days. So a lot of people probably heard of the Spine, which is sort of done all in one go, like one push, and you work out where you're going to sleep yourself. Whereas this is each day, it's a set route. You're going from camp to camp, which also adds a bunch of other elements into how you're going to do it. But yeah, it's a
stage race, isn't it?
It's a stage race.
Which is different to the Spine just being all like in one.
Yeah.
What did you say the distance was again?
380,
That's
roughly.
incredible, isn't it?
Yeah.
Not as miserable.
No. Is it? I mean, I'll be honest, like, I don't think I'll do the spine or the dragon's back, but it does sound a bit more appealing than the spine because you do get to like rest in between. Now I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing because I can imagine on like after like day 4 or 5 they're probably gonna have to like wheel you out in in a wheelchair to the start because you'll be that knackered and sore, and I guess it's quite hard in that
you
respect.
get unlimited buffet though. So
You do,
you'd like
yeah,
that
which
bit.
is really good.
I'd love that
It's
bit.
really good food.
Yeah.
Well, it is really interesting because you talk to different people and different people say that they don't. Like some people are like, oh, stage racing, okay, yeah, I get loads of rest, like that makes a lot of sense. Other people are like, I can't think of anything worse, just let me do it all in one go, let me get it over and done with. So it definitely is one of those things where it is kind of Marmite, I guess. People either love it or they hate it.
Yeah.
So,
But that kind of cumulative time as well, although it's because it's a stage race, it gives an extra element in terms of, especially near the front end, tactics and strategy and all that kind of thing. And it can sway one day, but you might have a better day the next, so it's less. I always think it appeals to me a bit more, that kind of racing. To be honest.
You've been involved in it in terms of like the coverage. Have you done anything with Dragon's Back before? Have you raced some of it or done some other route, Gary?
Yeah, I've raced it twice.
Twice, there we go. I knew there was a
I
connection
told you that
somewhere.
before.
Yeah.
No, I've done it twice, and I worked there last year to do some videos for them, and just helped out with routes and stuff. But for me, I still remember going like when you're coming into running, watching it on YouTube from back in the 90s or whatever, when it was the pure Dragon's Back ran by the Army Reserves or whatever.
Is that when it started? Like...
Yeah, well, it ran it once,
First
and it was you had to run it in pairs because it was full navigation and a safety thing, and the army were out on the hill looking after you, and it was, you'll have to watch it on YouTube because the footage is great.
Oh, it's brilliant.
It is
really
amazing.
good.
It's like going back in time, but it doesn't feel like it's that long ago. But as a race, that's what kind of caught the imagination. It was 5 days then, and then Shane revived it years later, pretty much. And then it turned into 6 days. So the first time I did it, it was 5 days. A couple of years later, I did it again. It was 6 days because it needed to have that finish in Cardiff Castle, I think. Yeah.
Was that the first time, Holly, you'd done a stage race before? Or?
So I've done Dragon's Back before. So I did Dragon's Back in 2023 as a recce for doing it this year. But actually, my introduction into off-road running was a stage race. So when I was, I'd finished university, I'd done a little bit of running while I was at uni, but just like road running. And then got down to London, so this is September time, was doing a consulting job, mad hours. Didn't do really any exercise, which for me was a bit mad. I'd done so many team sports and everything growing up. Didn't do any exercise at all. Work just sort of took over my life. Got up to family at Christmas time, and my cousins were, we've all entered into this thing. We think you'll really enjoy it. You should enter too. What is it? Wouldn't tell me. And look, the early bird price goes up tomorrow, so just enter now, and we promise you'll enjoy it. Entered, and it was 3 back-to-back marathons on the Devonshire coastline over 3 days in May. So I had a little bit of time to prepare. But at that point, I had never run a marathon. They'd all done marathons before. Furthest I'd run was I accidentally ran a half marathon when I was out in America because I got lost. I was supposed to only go out on like a 14k run or something like that, which for me was really far at the time. So yeah, it was a bit of an interesting introduction to things, but I absolutely loved it. Came out of it okay. Actually had a half marathon on the road race. I did Hackney half the week after, and that went okay. And I kind of got hooked.
Yeah, and was it set up the same? Was it run, camp, run, camp?
So it was one of the VO2 events. So we had like a camping hub, and we were in a static caravan there, and then you just got sort of bussed to each bit, and it was just running up along the coast, which was quite cool. There wasn't the unlimited food that we had to cook
that's a shame,
ourselves.
isn't it?
I know.
That's a good start into running, though, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Like,
It's a
throw
bit of a
yourself in the deep
baptism of
end.
fire.
Yeah.
But I've done a number of other multi-day since then. So I've done like the Ultra X 2-day Scotland race, and then I went out to the Azores with Tribe in 2019, and for one of their Run for Love things, which isn't a race. It's basically a community endeavour of everyone heads out, tries to raise a lot of money for it, and we were running sort of all around one of the islands that was there, finishing in a volcano.
Wow.
So that was 260 kilometres over 6 days. So not quite, definitely not the same amount of elevation as Dragon's Back. So not quite as extreme, but that was brilliant. And actually, Jodie Gould, who was second lady at Dragon's Back she was doing that as well. We met doing a training run just before then, and we had some really great runs out there together. But that was a proper introduction into multi-stage, and there we really didn't have our own food. We had the only thing that we had was hot water, so we had to bring with
like
us
dry stuff. Dry food,
How many pot noodles can you carry?
Well, exactly. Yeah. I do wonder whether pot noodle actually would have been tastier, but no. It was
What did you go for in the end?
I think
Crackers.
most of the expedition meals that I had, crackers. Well, there were a lot of rice cakes actually, but most of the expedition meals that I had were pretty like bog standard flavors. But I think I went for a few rogue ones.
Is it those camping meals that you get? Yeah.
Sometimes you're better off not going for the ones that sound a bit more exotic, aren't you? Just stick with
hit and miss, isn't it? Yeah.
And 1,000 calories of granola in the morning is just
that sits well.
It's just difficult.
It's intense, that,
yeah,
isn't
it is intense. It is intense.
But
when was sorry, Ben? So I didn't know you'd done Dragon's Back before. So when did Dragon's Back become a thing for you to go and do it? When was it on your radar? Because obviously you've had a lot of results before Dragon's Back that have been significant. But what got in your head about Dragon's Back?
So it was around. I think it was just after I'd done the 6-day race around the Azores. I kind of had a feeling that, well, I think multi-day is sort of my thing. I'm recovering pretty well. I'm seeming to do a lot better than other people, and I don't think that's just down to fitness. I think that's just like my body seems to adapt pretty well with it. And I was listening to the Bad Boy Running podcast, and they were chatting about it. I was like, this sounds really interesting. And did the whole thing of then getting immersed in YouTube and watching all the loads of documentaries that they've got on it, and kind of got hooked then and saw it. I think I'd be really interested in doing this. B, I think I'd be all right at it. And I think because Helen Whitaker, she finished first with Martin Stone in the pairs race. Like, interesting. It could be something where like women might be able to podium this or do pretty well with it. And then seeing how Jasmine did, I kind of hatched a bit of a plan. I have no idea why I thought at this point, because I didn't have any really big results or anything to my name, but I think I could do well. I feel like I could podium at this. Maybe I could be the first sort of woman that actually wins it. Spoiler alert, didn't happen. But I kind of thought that maybe that could happen. That was when I was still living in London.
And this was the attempt in 2003.
No,
23.
So 23. So the plan started hatching, and one of the bits that I'd watched Simon Roberts win, and then sort of listened to everything that he was saying, read up a load of stuff that he was saying. Well, I don't know. He was possibly one of the first people that actually like came out and said without me saying like, oh, this is what I'm going to go for. He was like, oh, you're going to go for going for the overall for this.
Yeah.
So I'd seen that he'd done it before and found that really useful for when he went back. And then I looked at the races that he did in the lead up to it as well. So that influenced the races that I did in the early part of this year. But I always had in my head I was going to do 23 as a recce and then come back in 25 and do it hard. 23 was an odd year, in that it was... So I've now done the hottest year and the wettest year. Maybe if I do it again, I'll get the most normal year. I don't know. But I started off doing it with a friend because I just wanted to do it as a recce. He wanted to do it. I was like, oh, okay, we'll just do it to complete. And so the first couple of days, I was running like 14-hour days, which is obviously very different to what I did this time. But then he dropped down to the hatchling on the third day at the support, like just after the support point. So he'd made the cutoff, but was just not in a good way. So he dropped down. And from then on, I was like, oh, well, I might as well just see if I can run hard. So... Day 4, I think.
6-day progressive one.
So day 4, I think I was then like a couple of minutes behind Jakob, who finished second behind Hugh. And then day 5, I was a bit knackered. Day 6, I was 10 minutes behind Hugh on day 6. But did have the conversation with Shane on Friday evening of going, so when can I start for the 6th day? Because at the moment I'm running quicker than Robin.
Yeah.
Like, they're having to start at a particular time. You've said that no one can get into the castle before them. So what's the crack?
Yeah.
And got told that I had to start like over an hour after her. So they had to come up with a bit of a different thing.
It
which
rarely
was,
works like that, does it? Yeah.
Well, I don't think people often
People just
run in the weird way that I did.
Slow down the least.
It's the opposite way around. Yeah.
But I didn't have the right kind of food or anything with me because I had food for running slow.
Were you just dishing it out to people to get rid of it?
Well, I had things like I had loads of brioche and like all that sort of stuff, which is great. I can stomach that when I'm moving slowly, but when I'm moving quickly, it's like the last thing that I want to have. And I didn't have. I think the only thing that I could really stomach on those last 3 days was the tailwind that I was having at the time, and so I was severely underfueled. Lost an awful lot of weight. Didn't really drink very well. Basically, just didn't really do it in the right way at all. But it was a really good learning experience.
Good. I'm going to say to learn from, wasn't it? To then go back and like know all the things that you had to get right. Then.
Yeah, and the other thing that was really nice, and I guess it was a really unique way of doing it, was that the people who had actually spent a lot of time running with and getting into camp at the same time with, and like breakfasting with in the mornings and all that sort of thing. They were people that on those latter days, they knew me really well, and I was seeing them when I was running past, and they were really supportive and everything of that. Because that was lovely, and getting to see them finish and everything as well after having made those connections in the early part of the week. I think it was a nice thing that I wouldn't have got if I'd just been running by them every day.
Got you.
Yeah.
As a Dragon's Back novice, I mean, I know about the Dragon's Back every year, but just talk us through like the logistics of like setting off. You do it like the first stage, for example, and then you obviously finish that, and then you're camping overnight, aren't you? Is that right? So what are you having to carry with you? What's set up already for you?
So it's really amazing. The logistical side of it from Area Events is incredible. And I think anyone who looks at the price tag when they're initially thinking about Dragon's Back is probably like, oh my God, this is so unbelievably expensive. But I think if you ask anyone that has done it, they can see where all of that goes, and it's like, oh, okay, actually, it's
only expensive if you can't make it past day one. I always say.
Well, yeah. Some people. I was going to say some people. What was it? In 23, I think someone dropped out at 10k. Like, which is bonkers.
Paid 1,500 quid to run 15k.
Exactly. But so what you need for the day is every day there are 2 support points. One of which you have a drop bag, which is 2.5 kilo drop bag. The other one is literally just a water point. You can pick up things from anywhere along the way. So if you go past a pub, a shop, anything like that, cafe, you can go in and get stuff. Certain days you'll go buy many of these things. Certain other days you will not come across anything at all.
Any life form.
No, precisely.
You wouldn't finish day 3 because you have to run past a spur.
Oh, no chance about it. I'd be in there.
I'd
be waiting for the yellow stickers, wouldn't I?
Waiting for the yellow stickers till 5 p.m. and miss the cut-off.
Oh my gosh. I think you'd still make it if you did that, if you waited for 5
No, then you've got to eat.
Yeah.
There's some great bargains.
You haven't seen Ben in a spa.
And sprint finish for the final 30k.
2 Bouncy briefcases over the hills. Because you've got to get it to the finish as well.
Oh my God. Yeah, that's true. Actually, no, day 3 is okay, but you are kind of confined into what you can shove into your 2.5 kilo support bag at that point. So you have to be pretty.
It's just a weird event and day, isn't it? Because everyone's like, oh, what are you going to get from the spot? Because you have this, like Holly's saying, you have like a half day bag where you get to it halfway through the day, and you usually have a spare pair of shoes or something. I rarely had that much in it, but lots of people will have lots in it. But on that day, they're thinking, right, what can I get from the spa or wherever, and shove in that bag because it's going to get transported to the end.
Yeah. Which apparently I was chatting with some of the volunteers, and they say that it's the best day because they get all the offcuts because everyone gets way too excited, buys way too much, these massive multi-pack things, and then they get there and they're like, I can't fit it.
Can't get it
so
in the bag.
Really, I need to be volunteering to help out with this race and not run it.
Exactly.
Just day 3 at
just day 3. Just come in at that point.
Just get all the free stuff. But so then in terms of what you actually need, so you need your stuff for the day, like when you're running. So when you set off, you need all your food that you're going to have up to that support point, and then like a resupply. But you don't need all your camping stuff. That all goes into a big camp bag, which is like a 15 kilo allowance for it, which I have to say I was very pleased when I got to registration. I was exactly 15 kilos on that bag and exactly 2.5 on my support bag.
What if you're over? Is it like Jet 2? They charge another 50 quid?
No, you have to ditch it if you're over. Yeah. So you have people like picking out like what can they sacrifice at this point. So
can you not pay like another £50, for example, to go up to 23 kilos on that? Does it not work like
This
that?
isn't Ryanair, Ben.
I don't know. Don't
Unfortunately
be
not.
giving Shane ideas.
And you can see why they do all the bags. You have to have a particular bag.
So
So
I was
it
going
all
to say, the
fits
first year
into-
you did it,
yeah.
we were all on regulated bags?
Yeah, all on
'Cause
regulated bags.
the first
yeah.
year I did it, you could turn up with your own bag. It just had to hit certain. You still had that same limit, but you could have your own bag. And I remember I'd been given, like, a friend of mine gave me a scuba diving bag because it's waterproof, because they have to be watertight. But it was a waterproof zip, and quite rightly, but I just misinterpreted the rules maybe. They said, no, you can't use that bag. I was like, well, it's waterproof. And the argument was, well, it's got a zip on it. You can't have a zip. But I was like, well,
Yeah.
it's a scuba bag. It's a waterproof zip. Anyway, I was arguing for no reason because it's that way or the highway. So luckily, there was one bag left I could buy because I was last to register as well, obviously.
Who'd have thought that?
Shock.
So I'm now in the car park trying to get everything that was in a bag that's shaped like that footstool, like a rectangle, I guess, into a tubular dry bag. And it was the right weight, but I couldn't fit the stuff in because of the dimensions. Anyway, so that meant my poles went, all my chocolate went, all the wrong stuff went. I should have kept. But yeah, like you say, I think the following after, everyone has the same bag, so that takes that kind of stupidness out of it. And every year there's people that either, especially my year, had the wrong bag and stuff, so it does make it easier. Yeah.
Just a question on the camping. So obviously all that stuff gets transported then, and do you have to set your tent up then yourself when you get there, or is somebody doing it for you? Like, what's the situation?
So thankfully you don't, within that 15 kilos, you don't have to have like a tent or anything. They have these 8-person tents which are made up of 2-person pods within them.
No, I
They're
had a
really
one-person
spacious.
tent, I did.
So no, just on your own. Well, actually,
VIP,
some people got quarantined this year because they got a bit ill, so they did have one-person ones. But so it's this big 8-man tent. You've got a big communal area, and then these 2-person pods. And they set that all up, which then feeds into some of the start times that you can have. But whenever you get into camp, the tents are already there ready. The food, like all the mess tent is up, the kitchen tent is up, like the info point, everything is all ready and set. So as a tired ready, you just get in and you can go straight and get chips and soup.
Amazing.
And you don't
usually,
have to
like
worry
you say,
about
like
all
the
of that.
volunteer will literally carry your day bag and the bag from yesterday over to your tent as well, if you're lucky and stuff.
Wow.
Yeah. A lot of the time they have them already in there unless you've got there too soon.
And you have to share the pod though with somebody else, or
Yes.
unless you carry it.
So on your own.
Like you say, once you're on your second year, you usually know some people. So I was in with Simon, so I was all right.
Oh, so you
good.
can kind of like
You
predefine
can either,
who
you
you're
can
gonna
either
be.
choose, or you can just say throw me in anywhere. or
Yeah,
whatever.
so I knew Jodie really well. So we asked to be in a tent together. So we were sharing a pod. But then the other thing that you get is through the week, people drop. So some tents stay 8 people in them all the way to the end of the week. Partially because all of the people are really strong and they're staying in the Dragon, but then also with the hatchling now, you get more people staying around. Our tent went from we lost a person like every day. So
Brilliant. So you're just spreading out.
we did spread out. So there
you're thinking,
was
great,
like
when somebody drops, you're like,
there were
yes.
positives and negatives to it. But yeah, we ended up with, there were 3 of us there at the end. So me and Jodie still on the Dragon, and then we had one person still on the hatchling, which was it was really weird because it had been chocker at the start, and I'm like, wow, we can spread out, which possibly also was to our detriment in that both Jodie and I would get in and then our bags would just explode everywhere.
Yeah, so you got kit everywhere.
Everywhere, absolutely everywhere, which was then just a nightmare to sort out in the morning. But the tents are pretty good. It's nice sharing with someone if you know them. Like Jodie and I have we shared tents when we were in the Azores, so we knew what each other were going to be like with that. And then it meant that we also had like a little safe space where the 2 of us could go to kind of get away from some of the racing aspects of it and just sort of decompress with each other, which was nice.
Sounds good.
And then if you're not careful, you can spend way too much time in that kind of canteen bit and socialising or talking about the race and stuff. I always valued the time in the tent where you're away from it, and it's me and Si and Sam Skinner. Last year we did it, but also we had a couple of Americans that were in our tent, and they're in such a different kind of race, or they had such a different experience. It was quite nice to have your own little, like Holly says, just a bit away from all that. Because otherwise it can be quite intense, I think.
Yeah, definitely. I think I had times where, I'd get in and I'd be absolutely buzzing with how everything went. And then it's so easy to get wrapped up with all the chatter and everything. And then you're like, oh God, I haven't been eating, haven't been sorting my admin out, like I haven't been doing this, haven't been doing that. And so, yeah, it's quite nice to sometimes just take yourself away and then be like, right, okay, I actually need to focus in on myself for a minute.
The other thing as well is, obviously it's a mass start, I guess, for the
first
stage,
Yeah,
but then following that, you're setting off at different time intervals depending on where you finished the day before. Is that right?
So you can pick. And I think this is one of the bits that makes it like one of my favorite races, if not favorite race, I suppose. Is the first day is like a normal race, so you're all setting off at the same time. So you have that normal bit of everyone gets really spread out, and the front runners are just like away from everyone. But then after that, the course is open 6 a.m. till 10 p.m. Set off kind of when you like. There are some bits that are put in there of if you come in too quickly, then you're told, please start after X time. And that's so that the next camp is built before the first people get there. So we had bits of like we were needing to start after like 7 or 7:30 most mornings, which was fine by me because I was always planning to do that anyway. But you get the people that are going to take the longest amount of time. They try to set off at 6 in the morning to give themselves that much time so that they stay ahead of the cutoffs. Because some people are genuinely getting in at 10 p.m. Other people, they set off super early so that they've got time in the light to do their admin at the end. But I mean, those people are getting up at like 4:30 every morning.
Pays to be a fast runner then, doesn't it? I mean, you're missing the spa because I know that shuts at 10. But you're getting less sleep essentially, aren't you? And kind of having to work around the daylight as well. And when you can set off.
Those people who are sort of setting off earliest and coming in latest, they are out on their feet for longer. They then have less time to recover, less time to eat, less time to do their admin. They're doing all of those things in the dark. I'm getting in and I'm able to eat a couple of rounds of chips and soup before dinner starts getting served at 6. Then I can have like 2 rounds of dinner. I'm still getting in bed like super early. I'm not having to rush with doing any of my admin. I can do that in the light, whether I decide to do that evening or whether I do it in the morning. I've just got so much. I can sort of eat at a reasonable time in the morning. I haven't got to rush. It's those people that are out for the longest amount of time. I mean, it's why the person who finishes it within the cutoffs but taking the most amount of time gets the biggest trophy at the end of it, because their endeavour that they've done over that week, the cumulative fatigue and everything they've had is just mind-boggling.
Yeah, I can see. I'm understanding more about how it works now, but it makes it really unique though, doesn't it, this race? As you said, I can see now from what you've told me why it is essentially your favourite race, because it's just different.
It also changes. I'm sure it still does on the last day. As long as it's close enough, they'll set off the top 3, is it?
Yeah.
Usually male and female, but I don't know how that worked this year.
So it was just Dave and... Well, so actually it caused a whole load of confusion.
Oh, right, okay. So usually, if you're within an hour, is it? Usually, male and female, if you're within an hour, you would have to set off on the last day with those time gaps. So essentially, so if I was... Overall, if you were 30 minutes ahead of me, I would have to start exactly 30 minutes behind you. So if I beat you on the last day, I'm the winner of the Dragon's Back. So it is a pure race. So it makes it interesting again. Obviously, Holly was challenging the overall this year, weren't you?
Yeah, and it was partly...
So did you get to race like that?
Well, no, so partway through day 5, my foot gave... So I was within an hour going into day 5, and then partway through my foot gave up, and then that was the point where I knew that the race had stopped, and I was just going to be... If I finished, I was going to be coming second.
And were you closing the gap at that time, do you think?
So I had been.
Yeah.
And I had been feeling really positive about that second half of day 5, and I was like, I think I can... My aim was to take it to a chasing start. But yeah, so it was a bit of a mental low point, realising that I wasn't going to be able to do that.
I wasn't competing like you were, as in trying to get it to that chasing start, but my last Dragon's Back finished halfway through day 5 with with tendinitis essentially. And it was literally like a switch. I've gone from I love day 5 to I don't even know if I'm going to get round day 5 now. And it was
that was what I had.
I was almost crying going up Pen y Fan because I was thinking, what am I going to do? Like I've spoke briefly about it before, but it's such a switch. You think, oh my god, it's over, and it's so yeah. If I was pushing like you were, it would have been an extra level of battling with your mind, I imagine.
Yeah, I think I ended up feeling like I'd let loads of people down with it. But
I don't know about that, Holly. I mean, I don't agree with that one.
But so the last day, and the reason why that ended up being a bunch of confusion was it got put out on so you get your time printed at the end of each day, and it will say in there like if there's any stipulations for when people need to start, and it said like first and second need to start at, I think we got told to start at 7, maybe no 6:30.
So to confirm, at this point, before you set off on the last stage, you are in second place overall. First female, but second place overall. And who are you competing against for
Dave Parrish.
So Dave Parrish. So going into that showdown essentially for the last.
Last day. At this point, I knew it was just like, okay, well, we'll see how it shakes out, but I'm not going to be able to make the time up. Yeah. But so they said that.
What did you have? Sorry, on you at that point.
So at that point, he'd stretched it out. So I think it was like an hour and a half or nearly 2 hours. I ended up losing tons of time on day 5.
On day 5,
yeah. From that last section, it went very pear-shaped. But so yeah, we were going into it. So it said like first and second starting at 6:30, which I went and spoke to Ian, the course director, and to Shane. I was just like, 6:30. This is horrible. I can't be starting this early. This is ridiculous.
So I don't get out of bed before 8 o'clock normally.
Yeah, so normally I wake up at 6. So yeah, I was like, is there any chance that we could start a little bit later? Mainly because I think
like 8:59.
yeah, mainly because like Jodie and I, so we'd interpreted. So myself, Dave, Ed, who was second male, and then Jodie, who was second female. We'd interpreted it as being the 4 of us needing to start at this time. So we were like, maybe we can ask if we can start a bit later. So not allowed. Fair enough. And I now know why. It was mainly there were these 2 guys who came 5th and 6th, but they weren't going fast enough to be needed to mandate a later start time. But they were setting off at 6 every day, and you need to be into the castle like sort of in positional order for the first couple of people. So we needed to overtake them.
I see. So you can't have them finishing first. It's got to be right.
No.
Got you.
So we had to set off at 6:30 so that we
Why
only had to make up half an hour.
Why can't they just say it to them? You have to.
But no, it's fine. It's fine. And honestly, we can't really complain about starting at 6:30 when people have been starting at 6 every morning and getting in really late. But we did try. But we were, I think, what was it? So Jodie and I.
At what point did you go past them? I bet that
was
like...
my God. It was, honestly, we were, so this was Ed and I spent day 6 running together, and we knew that we couldn't take it easy because we needed to be ahead of these people.
And it's not as easy to make up ground on that day.
No, and the pressure was that if we didn't get ahead of them, they were going to be held at some point.
So you're almost like affecting their race then as well.
Yeah, and they wouldn't get that time back. Because they had a thing saying like leave at a time that means that the front runners will get ahead of you. So you're like, oh God, like they should have left later. But so it meant that if you end up looking at Strava or whatnot, our last couple of Ks were ridiculous. We were running like 4:30s leading into it, which is bonkers. At that point, both of us being in quite a bit of pain as well. But yeah, we caught them with 4 or 5K to go.
Geez, so close.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
We were stressing because they were running pretty well, and we were just like, God's sake, like why don't they just slow down? Why don't
did they know the situation?
That's literally like
no, they weren't really aware. Because when we went past them, we were like, you guys have meant that we have had to freaking sprint this.
I wondered if it was like if they knew, and it was almost like when you're on a motorway and somebody's trying to come past you and you're like, I don't think so, mate. You put your foot down a little bit so they can't overtake you.
We did have one of the guys who was a little bit further back than them. He had been seeing how long he could hold us off for.
Got you.
And we're like, mate,
Let it go.
We are tired. We
Give it
don't
up.
want to be running this hard.
All that's going to happen is you're going to get to Cardiff Park and they're going to say you're going to have to sit down on that bench for 20 minutes.
Exactly. Which is what we said to the guys afterwards. We were like, you do realise that if we hadn't managed to catch you, they would have like made you sit. And apparently at the castle, they were like radioing into people quite madly because like,
Matt
maybe
Ward's
they're
going
not
to
going to
rugby tackle
catch
you
them.
in the park.
Yeah, they're like maybe they're not going to catch them. Maybe we are actually going to have to stop these people. But yeah, we did. But we went past them, and then for whatever reason, we were just into some form of flow, and then we just ended up having like a really ridiculously speedy finish, which was quite satisfying.
So-
but then we couldn't walk.
So it felt after racing each other for the whole of the 6 days, it felt like you were both then racing two other people.
Yeah. And so
essentially.
Ed and I, we knew each other going into this, and actually the whole thing with Ed is quite funny and is a testament to how good of a runner he is. So I got a message from him. So I know Ed from some of the Skyrunner stuff that I did. We were both doing some of the World Series races last year. We actually had so Mercantor. We basically ran the race together, but had no idea that each other were British, so didn't talk at
No
all
way.
until we got to the end and heard. I think I heard Ed speak. I was like, oh, could have been speaking to you the whole way around, but just sort of stayed in our own little bubble. But I got a message from him at the end of July going, my mum was going to be doing Dragon's Back this year, but she's decided that she's going to drop out. And so she's got this space. Like, do I take her up on this? And you possibly asked the most biased person in the world.
We were like, nah,
so
mate.
like, do it. No, I was like, do it. It'd be so cool. Because he just finished university.
Yeah, but don't
He
speak
wasn't-
to me again.
Yeah. He just finished university. He wasn't going to be starting working until after Dragon's Back. So it was like, perfect opportunity. Why not just try it? He does a load of big like mountaineering days out in the Alps where he goes out climbing multiple days in a row. Like he's a very accomplished sky runner, everything. I'm like, you'll absolutely love it. Only sort of like in the week leading up to this I was like, what have I done? I've now like put someone in here that's probably
what I was
going to
thinking.
yeah, exactly. It's like this terrible idea. And like gave him a load of advice on it, which also came back to actually bite him in the end because I pointed him in the direction of Simon's routes from last year, being like, oh, if you want some better lines than just the ones that are given out on the website, like maybe look at what Simon did last year. But I did say do take into account the route changes for this year. That got discounted at some point, but we'll come back to that, I'm sure. But yeah, so he absolutely smashed it with like a month to prepare.
Mm.
He made his own gels because uni student didn't like have money to go and hadn't started working yet, so didn't have the funds to go and buy all of the millions of gels that you need for the week. So yeah, he made his own, which went down really well for him. So if anyone's looking for a new type of gel, just hit Ed up for what he was making with that. But yeah, and he did super well with it, and it was really nice having him there because like we ran a lot of the first day together. So we ran out of the castle together and everything, and did a good chunk of that day, sort of working together with that. And then day 5, he was really struggling with just various bits of his body kind of just packing in.
Did you say he's young?
Yeah, so he's 23.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was a big ask of his body. I mean, he's saying that he's now like out climbing this, that, and the other.
He'll be
just
resilient
bounce
in
back
terms
straight
of
away.
the mountains. It sounds, doesn't it? That's what makes a difference.
Yeah, and
can bounce back a bit more.
we got to know each other a good bit more, especially with day 6. We're spending the entirety of the day together, and his background and like growing up and everything is, I mean, not quite to the extent of sort of Killian of being thrust into the mountains from being really young, but like for his 13th birthday, he did the Welsh 3000s.
Yeah.
So he's been like a mountain child, whether it's running or hiking or whatnot, since being really
It's
quite
in the
small.
blood. Yeah.
It
It's like
is,
born
yeah.
under a rock, was he?
And his
Like,
mum
it's
had
no-
the entry. So
And she actually decided in the end to do the hatchling.
Yeah.
So then she was
nice.
there. That was really nice seeing her like each day.
So the hatchling, is that 3 days?
So the hatchling it's half days. Well, it's basically you have either decided to do it at the start or you've missed a cutoff at some point, but you're still able to run. You can then decide if you want to do half days, or you can still do a full day if you feel that you're up to doing that. And you pick whether you want to do the first half or the second half. So it's a way in which people can still make their way down through Wales. So you don't have that thing of, oh, I've entered and I've missed the cutoff on day one, and now I've spent like 15, 16, 1700 quid plus all the extras of all the kit and all of that. And it's all for about like a 10k run or something. So it works really nicely. And then from a runner's perspective, when you're still on the Dragon, it's nice in that it's a like 30 or less % finish rate. So that would be a pretty lonely race by the time you get to day 6. But the fact that you've got all of these hatchlings still out on course,
unless you're racing them.
But like it's great, and still like there's so many people still in camp. But every day you have like this influx point of people. Which when I've spoken to people who are dot watching, they said it's quite funny, and that all of a sudden this different coloured set of dots just appear on the map, and it's all the hatchlings suddenly they suddenly hatch and then they're there.
It's funny because I've experienced both with and without the hatchlings version, and it's like you can definitely tell in the eyes by 4, 5 and 6 around camp who's hatchling and who isn't, who's spent half the day at camp. And it's good also because I've coached people and had a couple of friends that have missed a cut off or got injured or just had their Dragon's Back finished and then that's it, it's gone. But actually the ones that have finished for whatever reason but still been able to continue for half days, they've still had a great experience and gone to Conwy Castle. And it's not what they started to do, but they might go back again in future. Plus they haven't got that whole like Holly said, that they're not pissed off. Basically they haven't completely wasted their money, which is it's an easy way to think, I guess.
And Shane put it quite nicely at the start of being like, it's basically then hopping onto a running holiday. And it did end up, you'd chat with some of the hatchlings in the evening, you'd be like, oh, I did the afternoon, so it meant that we got to go for a pub lunch and then do all of this stuff, and then we just
it's so random because you do speak to them and I couldn't get my head around it because it's like me and Si and Sam and that, and you're like pushing yourselves as much as you can, and then you speak to one of them, it's like, we set off at midday and then we got back and had lunch, and it's like
just got out of the sauna.
Genuinely.
And it's not, it's still, don't get me wrong, because they're still decent long days for them.
They are,
but it's but that kind of thing. But it is you have to adjust to like having the two separate events essentially from the next couple of days. But
it's really nice when so in the morning, like the hatchlings, if they're doing the first half, they all set off kind of around-ish the same time because they're going to get picked up at a certain point. So you have this number of people that you run through at that point. And then it's almost like they all get replenished for the ones that are doing the afternoon. And so then you run through a whole load of other people. And that's the nice bit about like having the rolling start.
Some really shit computer game where they
I was just overtaking all these people and now I'm doing
just
it all
when you
over
think
again.
you've completed the level, you get another set of enemies to...
I'm waiting for a slippy banana.
But it's brilliant in that you...
again, none of these people are ever going to speak to me again.
Most racing that you do, if you're out towards the front, you don't see people. That's kind of it. And the same with if you're at the back, you don't see people. So with this bit of choosing when you're going to start, you get the people at the back, they set off first. They then have all through the day people running by them. And because it ends up being a race where it's everyone against the Dragon as opposed to sort of being against each other, everyone's so supportive. So you've got those people are really supportive of the people that are coming by them, and then in turn it's like people that like, oh god, you're going to be out here for so much longer than I am, so people are like really supportive in return of that. So then when you go past all of these hatchlings and they're like, yes, you're still doing this for us, and they're really supportive of that, it's just nice. Sort of the whole day you end up seeing people.
It's
and
not a lonely race,
especially like day 3, 4, 5, 6 in your position. You're going to be instantly recognisable coming through that field as well. So I imagine you're getting more and more support. And rightly or wrongly, because you're a female challenging the overall race as well, I bet you had the whole field basically behind you.
It was bonkers. I thought it was going to be like from when I did it in 23 and I started moving through the field in the latter days and people knew me from doing it, from having run with them. And there was a lot of support with that. I knew that there was going to be a lot of support. I didn't realise the extent, and it was so much more than I could have, and there definitely was the element of people rooting for a woman like finishing ahead of people. And the nice bit of that was I had so many guys who were like, oh, my wife is following along, or my daughters are following along, and they're like more supportive of you than me. It was like, oh, I'm so sorry. But that was really cool. But then each time the volunteers were great, and I'd have like sometimes where I'd be running either out of camp in the morning or through the support points, and the loud noise that would come after me would be crush their souls, which then that was when it was multiple of them. When it got to like day 5 and it was just me v Dave, it was crush his soul.
Poor guy, like he's done this amazing race at Dragon's Back, and it's just like he must be the only person that
failed the world against him.
Dave was great, and he's so
probably
lovely.
relishing it a little bit as well, isn't he? He's probably enjoying it to a certain
having
extent.
a little bit of like playing, not necessarily playing the bad guy, but yeah, it was that was really funny. But yeah, the amount of support was crazy, and I had something that just didn't really compute was the number of people that I had no idea who were either messaging on Dragon's Mail, or I actually had people came out on course, particularly on day 5, and they said that they had come out like to see me run by. Like I'm just here putting one foot in front of the other. Like I don't understand any of this. It was just
watching from afar. It did capture attention, like from very early on, because you were in the mix like from the start, basically, weren't you? And I was following it, and obviously knowing you now as well, I had that personal connection, and I was desperate for you to win it. Honestly, desperate. And
it went
right. And don't apologise, because you finished second overall, which is incredible, first female, and also I think the record, right? For the women's race.
I didn't know, and I guess this was some of the interesting stuff through the week was around the language and how it was all talked about and communicated. So because previously, so in 23 when I ran it, like Robin finished 3rd overall, like massively smashed the women's race, and what was it? There were 4 of us women who made it into the top 10. I think I ended up 4th, how it all like moved through the week, and just chipped into the top 10 with that. So it was a really strong women's field that year, and it kind of got put out there as like, Robin has come 3rd, is on the podium, this, that, and the other, and got a little bit of a disgruntled response from people being like, no, you need to highlight the women's race and what's going on with that, which I do really get. So a lot of everything around the beginning of the week in particular, and kind of as it was moving through, was talking about the men's and the women's races separately. So it was like, here's the top 3 men, here's the top 3 women. And then the record bit kind of came out on, I think it was day 4. At the end of that, Shane was like, oh, you're way up on the record at this point. Didn't know that there was a record. And I had someone ask me, like, oh, is that what is keeping you motivated? Because you're so far ahead of the other women. Is that what's keeping you motivated with this? Are you chasing the record or this, that, and the other? I was like, I'm not ahead. Like in my head, I've been behind all week. Like
you're racing for the win.
Yeah, I'm in a different race to what you've like projected me into. So yeah, it was really weird. But yeah, I had no idea that I didn't know that there was a record that I was ahead of it.
Lisa's record, Lisa Watson.
Yeah, so it was like 3 hours up on that by the end of the week.
I ran it that year, so that you finishing 3 hours ahead of that is a serious run. Like.
It's incredible, isn't it? Yeah. Let's give you some credit here, Holly, because you've been very modest so far on this, giving everybody praise.
And I know you want to be, like the race was, you were racing to win overall, but at the time, Lisa's was an amazing run, so to finish 3 hours ahead, it's not to be... we need to really celebrate that fact as well.
Thank you.
It's an amazing achievement, honestly. And I think it's one of those defining moments in trail running and the sport where, we've had like Jasmine winning like Barclays, and you've got Anna winning the Felsman, and then you've got winning Dragon's Back, and you're like, what you're doing for women's sport in general is amazing, isn't it? It's inspirational to people watching as well, don't you think? Getting more women involved in the sport as well, and you're closing that gap as well now, aren't you? Like when it's women in general, when you go into these races.
I mean, I hope it's something that like maybe spurs someone else on to think, oh, maybe this is like possible. It's getting closer to sort of popping a woman on the top of it, or just at least saying like, hey, look, we can do these things, because the amount of women that enter it still isn't that high. And I think a lot of that is that the stereotype of women is that we like to do things where we know the outcome is kind of certain, like we know that we're going to get to the end of something, which is, I think, feeds into why the finishing rate of women in races compared to sometimes the finishing rate of men is a bit higher.
The problem with that is 100% of the men think the same thing, but then they don't do it.
yeah. So you get a lot of guys think like, oh yeah, I can definitely do this, and they might not have like done all the computation to work out whether they definitely can. Yeah. But I think, and I think that's like that. I know that I have much more of a like a stereotypically male mindset in that I back myself to do things when I probably don't have the data to support that. But I think there's so many elements to this race that make it something that isn't just about physical performance. That would, if like women sort of looked at it in a bit of a broader sense, would go, actually, like I can do that. I'm really organized. I can handle all of my admin, and that gives me an advantage on like doing X, Y, and Z. Like I can look after myself really well through the week, and actually maybe that means that it is something I can do. It's not just this big, massive physical feat that maybe seems unattainable. And then I think the hatchling being the catchment of if you fall, it's not like you've put in all of this effort, taken a week out of work or a week out of looking after the kids, and it's all going to be for now. It's like, no, you can actually still do a really big thing doing the hatchling. It's not just sort of an all or nothing. So hopefully more women will feel like they can do stuff. I've had some really lovely messages from people saying that either that their kids have come and like gone, look, have you seen this? And like, oh, I feel like I want to do my first trail race or like get into doing this off the back of it. So it's been incredible.
That's amazing. And I think even just a few years ago, but historically, like when we've talked about races, the first thing people mention is like the men's race, and they might not talk enough about or even mention the women's race at all. And I even think, looking at UTMB as an example now, going into this year before Katie Scheider decided not to do UTMB, I was more excited about that showdown with her and Courtney than I was about the men's race, which I think's brilliant. The fact that now we're talking about men and women on an equal playing field, like prize money now is equal in pretty much every race that I go to now, and that has not always been the case in the past either. But these kind of results, I think, just do wonders as well for making sure that everybody gets equal representation from both genders. So.
Yeah, and I think the interesting thing with how this race unfolded was that there were multiple races that were going on the ground, which was interesting, and maybe like plays into whenever anyone is in a race, there's like multiple races all throughout the pack and a lot of the time they aren't necessarily specific to gender. If you're running and getting towards the end of something and anybody comes up on you towards the end, you're not going to want to be overtaken right towards the end, regardless of whether they're male or female. And the way that the race unfolded, I think the way the race unfolded for like Jodie through the week was really, really interesting. So I was always sort of dabbling in with the top guys, but then Jodie hadn't really had in her head that she was going to be competing within the women's race and trying to sort of get that top three or whatnot. And right at the very start, I was like, oh, you've had a really good beginning day. Like, have you looked at the results? And she, no, I don't want to look at them. And I think, what was it, after day one, I think she was like in fourth and wasn't too far behind Leanne, who was in third at that point. I think Eleanor was in second behind me. And then over the next couple of days, it was like, oh, are you sure you don't want to have a look at the results? Because she was closing the gap
and you're
on
fully
those
aware.
two.
Yeah.
And I'm like looking at it being like, Jodie, please, because you just need to push a little bit more and you'll be ahead. And then she leapfrogged them, or she caught up with Leanne, and there were like 2 minutes, I think, in it after day 3. And I knew that Jodie was going to smash day 4 because it was right in her ballpark of what she's really good with. And so that she not only leapfrogged it, but I think she was like 5th overall on that day. And she just absolutely smashed it. So at the end of the day, I was like, right, we are talking about this because now you're like second lady, and I think at that point she was like 11th overall. And it was like, you've got day 5 and 6 coming up. You're clearly like getting better and better. So her race went from not thinking about racing at all to then she was racing with those 2 women for like those remaining podium spots, to then it was like, right, top 10 is so realistic at this point. And she ended up coming 8th, which was just awesome. So seeing that the different races that were kind of progressing for her through the week was really interesting. And that tussle between like her and Leanne and Eleanor was really interesting. And then with the guys, like Ed and Ewan Belcher, they were having like a bit of a tussle as well with who was feeling strong and who wasn't. There was a point where Ed was feeling really weak during day 5, and Ewan had taken a bit of a surge, and because Peter had dropped out and Danny had fallen back, it was like, oh god, are we going to have a complete shake-up on that side?
It can swing so much, can't it, within a day and within stuff. What's also, you wouldn't know, but like you'll find this interesting. What's great and what's really worthwhile, something like Jodie pushing up, is at the end of that week you have like a big presentation. I assume they still do it the same way, and you get given your dragon, and it's like a prize giving, but they'll do it in reverse order. So the higher up you finish, the later in the kind of presentation you're getting presented. And I think seeing so many women higher up in that makes a difference as well, just for everyone in that room, everyone around it and everything. So it will make a difference whether you're finishing 2nd overall, 10th overall, but just having more and more women finish, I think, and higher up in the top 10, it's definitely worth pushing just for that, I think.
Yeah, agreed. And I think we ended up with, Jodie was 8th, Leanne was 10th, and I think Eleanor was 12th in the end.
Wow.
So like 4 of us really high up, which was really cool. And I guess it does sort of show that when it gets to that resilience bit, it's not always sort of the men that are necessarily going to be more resilient than women, because no one's running well on like the last day.
Yeah, I'm going to say you must have some real highs and lows, because obviously everyone's fresh at the start, but then it must change quite a bit throughout the week, because you're never going to run that distance
Sometimes
without having any
message,
complications.
it's like, come on, you're only like 2 hours behind. So
yeah.
Close down that gap. It's notable because like you get highs and lows during like any race, and this is like doing 6 races sort of back to back. So each day you have like some really big sort of positive moments and some really low lows, I think. And especially this time it was so wet. It was so wet.
Was that the main issue? Because there's a lot of factors in the fact, with it being wet, what you're having to wear, but also like having to manage your feet and things like that, and like just shoe choice, that sort of stuff. But what was navigation like? I mean, are you having to navigate
if it's following Simon's route?
Following Simon's route.
That was what the guys are doing. So I had my own one. So I was going to
because it's obviously not flagged. But I mean, is it the Cambrian way, the Dragon's Back? Am I right in saying that? Is it well marked anyway? Yeah.
Well,
so you're on good trails.
The way that it works is there are certain parts of the route that are mandatory, and that tends to be where it's near a road or you're going through private land or something like that. And they've had to negotiate us being able to be there. For the rest of it, it's just like a fell race. You have to get to particular points, and the GPXs that get given out and the map that you get given has the most obvious path marked on it. So that would be like if you were looking at the ground and there's something that looks a little bit more like a path than just one sheep once trod here at some point in the past. That would be the route that would suggest that you go on, even if it's not the best, sort of most efficient route to go on. So most of the time, it still is the best route to take, but there are some days where there are some big. So day 2, for example, there are some big cuts that you can do and make up a lot of time, and some of them are pretty well established. It's the 10th year this year. So if you do a bit of research,
there's probably more
about
people
them.
going off like the Roman steps now than like
exactly
these days and stuff. But
there's still people that don't do
I know.
do that
but
route.
At the same time, I remember like thinking back, some of my best days are going, like my most enjoyable days are going and recceing it. Did you go and do that and have fun recceing and testing lines or looking at lines and stuff? Did you go that much in depth into it?
Yeah, so I recceed almost all of the route. So day 1 I recceed by doing 14 peaks because it crosses over mostly with that, and then I did a couple of other little runs on small sections of the course. And then the other days, I didn't bother recceing day 6.
Yeah.
Because it's the least fun. And I didn't recce the first part of day 5 because it's also not so fun. But I recceed all of the other days. And whenever I'd go, so Hugh was unbelievably helpful. So Hugh Chatfield was, Altra teammate, unbelievably helpful in preparing for this because obviously he'd won in 23. And so can I pick your brain? And so we do some like map studying sessions beforehand. So like whilst he's been out doing altitude training and everything, you have like long calls going through various different lines. And most of them were ones which were well established. Some of them would be because of route changes. Maybe try this or that. And there was a friend of his who I need to quote in this because he said that he's copyrighted one of the lines. So Robert Bruce, he had a really good line to do for day 2 that was like a little bit sketchy. So I did check it with Ian Stewart, the course director, the night before doing it because I did not want to at that point go and get disqualified or get a time penalty or anything like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, did loads of bits, virtually did loads of things of actually like working through the map itself, and then did do the recce's. So that it meant that when I got, and having run it in 23 as well, when I actually got to running it, I didn't mind that it was really claggy on the first couple of days because I
probably
was pretty
relished
settled.
it in some
People
way.
can't follow you as
I was
easy.
I was pretty okay with it being like that because I was like, I feel like I know where I'm going, and it definitely helped. I think with like some of the guys did not know where they were going, which was quite satisfying. But yeah, it was.
There's nothing better feeling. Like it's the same as in fell running. Like you know that there's a line coming up, and you might drop back 20 meters.
Yeah,
something
tie your waist or whatever.
And especially in the clag, and it's like, I'm just going to put this jacket on or something. It's like because you don't want them to. It's daft, really. But yeah, you can. There's a lot of that you can get away with in the Dragon's Back because
that's what I had with day 2.
Yeah.
So day one, right at the very beginning. So it was. I just did it just to play with people's heads. It was really like it wasn't really going to save me any time or anything. But I'd gone out and gone on a little shakeout run the day before, and I'd looked at the map and thought maybe this new way that we're starting, because it was slightly different to the ways that it'd gone before. I was like, maybe this new way there's actually like a little cut that I can do going around something, and I can just put it into their heads that look, I know where I'm going and you maybe don't. So we set off, and coming out of the castle, no one ran like at all. I was at the front, where is everyone? This is really weird. Is no one going to run? Anyway, Dave then sort of caught up and he ran off. And then we got up to this point where I was like, okay, this is where I'm going to do my little cheeky bit. And he ran on it. And I was like, oh, bloody hell, there's someone that's fast and they know where they're going. Because I was pretty sure that was Dave. I hadn't seen a picture of him to know what he looked like, but I knew that Dave was going to be good because, Cape Wrath and everything. So it's like, damn it, maybe this is all of my ambitions for this have gone in the first
How
like.
far Conwy is this?
This is literally like 10 minutes into running. So he shoots off and goes on this route. Damn it, I'm running with Ed and a bunch of the other guys all come past at this point, all following Dave. Anyway, we get to this point where I'm like, okay, we're getting towards the bit where we need to cut up and join like the main route. They all just shot straight past, and I knew that was just going to be going the wrong way, and they were going to miss the checkpoint. So obviously I'm pretty pleased with myself. Cut up and got to the first checkpoint first, and they all had to come like double back on themselves and come back past us. And then there were a couple of points in the day where we were all running together, and Danny knew the route pretty well as well. And we'd be going along, and the other guys would just start drifting out to a cairn. We'd be like, it's not a checkpoint, and just carry on like running around.
Because of the start time as well, it's very usually clag up on that Cardiff highway, and it's very, even though you've got GPX, it's you can quite easily get disorientated with the line. When in reality, you should basically trust yourself and kind of know where you're going. But then you've got. I remember running with Jim Mann, and he's like thumbing the map, zigzagging along, and I'm like, I know it's there. Why am I following Jim? Going, I don't know if he's trying to play mind games with me here. Like, I think he was just map reading, but at the same time, I know it's that way, kind of thing. It's weird. You start playing with your own head a little bit, don't you? Yeah,
and it got separated out at a point just before we were coming round to Penny Wen to drop down into to Ogwen. We like various people had stopped for various like P stops and everything, so we'd all got slightly separated. But I thought at this point, like, I'd just lost the guys because being a woman, everything just takes a little bit longer when you're trying to do any of that. It's really nice and easy for you guys to just stop on the side of the trail. So they had kind of pulled away, and I thought, oh gosh, like I've lost them now. Looking back, and some people have sent me screenshots of around that bit because I took a line. We were all like about 10 meters away from each other, but couldn't see each other at all because of the clag. It really came in, and it was really bad. But it made it really interesting. And then so dropped down, went up Tryfan. I had a real nightmare with my poles at that point, proper poor pole management faff. I just couldn't get them into my quiver at all. So again, lost them going ahead, and just figured that that was it. Like, they've pulled miles away. And then coming down into Penny Pass, I thought I saw someone a little bit ahead, but didn't really trust my eyesight isn't great, glasses. So wasn't 100% sure. But then going up the pig track, because we didn't do Crib Got because of the weather, because it was bonkers. But going up the pig track, suddenly I saw them just ahead, caught up with Peter, then suddenly saw Danny when I was going round, and I knew a few better lines than he did, and sort of cut round various bits and pieces. And then we all finished within 7 minutes of each other. But the clag had been so bad that we literally had no knowledge that we were all as close as we were. Like, even so, Dave didn't realise that he'd pulled ahead by quite a lot in the first half of that day, and then basically lost all of that time. I think the final section down, made up 15 or so minutes on him, because he took it easy, didn't realise everyone was so close.
And also, it's unless you really know where you're going there, people have to stop, check, and look. And although it looks very easy on the map, and the amount of people that don't recce that bit going into camp, I think it's always worth doing, even if you're further back, because you can lose your way there. Yeah, you can make up time there.
Did anybody go horribly wrong?
Well, so Dave at the end of day one had said that day one was the only day that he'd recce'd. So going into day two, everyone was talking about that. Well, us lot at the front, we were talking about what time we were going to set off in the morning. And Ed, Danny, and Peter had decided that they wanted to stay as little three. So Ed and Peter were the stronger runners, but Danny knew the route. So he was going to benefit off of them kind of pulling him along, and they were going to benefit off of him knowing where to go. So they were all going to set off at 7. I was like, right, okay, I'm going to set off at 7:30. Dave was like, oh, what's going on? I was like, well, the guys are all setting off at 7, kind of trying to get him to go them, because I had the Bruce line that I was going to be taking on day 2, and I didn't want anyone else to be taking it.
Yeah.
So starting off on that day, the guys went at 7. I thought Dave had gone at 7, and then I come to do. So you have to do bag check and everything every day. So did kit check, and then turned around, start pen. Dave is stood there waiting for me
to show him the way.
Yes, yeah, exactly that. And because he knew that I knew where I was going, so my little bit about being like, oh, get into their heads about being like, oh, Holly, I was like, no, this is backfired. So yeah, we went, and then when I saw that he'd gone somewhere, and so I ran to the start bit and said to James, I was like, has he gone? No. It's like, right, when he comes back from the loo, don't tell him that I've run and that I've set off. Don't tell him when I've set off. So I absolutely pegged it out of camp and tried to then get far enough ahead that I could hide.
Yeah.
So kind of that bit of do you hang back, or do you just try and get ahead and hide? And it worked a little bit. He took a few interesting lines that didn't quite work out the way that he wanted to, but it didn't quite work fully. But day 4, the guys went so wrong, and it was so stupid how they went wrong as well. So the start of day 4 is a mandatory section through the trees and everything, but the mandatory section changed this year from last year. So at this point, Danny...
So is that where you go up through the wind farm?
Yeah. So to get to that point at the wind farm, it used to be that you'd kind of head straight up the hill and then through the trees where there's some pretty steep drop downs and everything. But there'd been loads of trees had fallen. So instead they took us round a fire track, basically, which just was a really long, slow douchebag grade kind of climb. So I'd let the guys set off earlier than me again, and actually this time David set off earlier as well. And Danny had kind of blown up a bit on day 3. So Ed and Peter, this was their first day of going out on their own, doing the nav on their own. And as it transpired, the way they started was they went, oh, okay, this route that we've got on our watch, that's Simon's route, looks like it's much quicker than the route on the map. So we're going to be more Danny, and we're going to take a line, which I don't know why they didn't piece together. It's no, it's mandatory route, and the mandatory route had changed. And I told Ed about this as well. But yes, they just cut straight up the hill on the old route, and were trying to go through the trees. So they got chased by a car to tell them, like, you won't be able to go up there. Like, you won't be able to make it through.
Hard enough if the trees haven't been down.
Yeah, exactly. So that happened. Then Dave got warned, don't go up the big hill, follow the mandatory route. He proceeded to also go up the big hill because he'd seen them on the dots and whatnot, head up there. So then when I came to start, I didn't know any of this had happened at this point, but I came to the start pen. They were like, Holly, don't go up the big hill. I'm like, what do you mean? No, don't go up the big hill. I was like, there isn't a big hill at the start. I don't understand what you're meaning. They're like, well, the guys have all gone up the big hill. I was like, oh. And then it dawned on me. I was like, Ed's followed Simon's route from last year, hasn't he? And they were like, oh, that makes sense. And so, yeah, I think a whole bunch of people... it actually became through the week sort of a known thing of loads of people using Simon's routes from Strava.
Yeah.
Because not everyone has their Dragon's Back sort of opened out on Strava for people to follow the routes.
At that point, you must have been loving it though, because you were thinking that's great because it's hemorrhaging time, or
so
psychologically it's a bonus, isn't it?
It was a big bonus. So
that's why I gave it to Ed in the first place as well.
It did seem like that. I was like, wait, I'm tracking back through my head. I'm like, did I want it? But no, he did say afterwards, he was like, you did tell me. I was like, okay, it's fine. I definitely did tell you. But yeah, because I was setting off. At this point, I think I was 15 minutes back on Peter, who was in third, and I was like 25 minutes back on Ed in second. So I'd had in my head, I wanted to set off at least half an hour after them to try and make up the time on them. Then I knew that if I caught them up, I'd overtaken them. So I then had in my head going up this climb, I was like, oh, I know that they're going to get a time penalty. Don't know what the time penalty is going to be, but I know that that's going to help me close the gap. So I don't actually need to catch them today. Though if I do catch them, I'm even further ahead of them. Oh, brilliant. I caught up with... Well, I didn't realise, I thought I'd just caught Ed at the support point. What I didn't realise was that Peter was also there and was in a bit of a bad way. So got into the support point in the Elan Valley, and I was feeling brilliant. It was so noisy as well at the support point. It was also the first time where it was like, it's been dry for an extended period of time. There is sunshine out. My dad was there. It was just a real high running into it. And then I saw her at Ed, and I was like, I've made up the time. I've now definitely, regardless of what the time penalty is, I've leapfrogged Ed. I'm probably in second at this point because I needed to make up less time on Peter, and he can't be that far ahead. So came out of there, and so Ed set off literally just before me out of the support point and was hiking up the climb out of there, and I changed everything really quickly, got straight out and was like, right, I would walk this. I should walk this, but I'm going to run it.
Did you run up it? Yeah.
I ran it, and I ran it quite hard.
It's that slightly runnable grade.
Yeah.
You would run up it normally, but on day 4, Dragon's Back, it's like...
Yeah, you probably shouldn't. But yeah, so I ran up that, and then I caught up with Ed and was like, oh, how you doing? Like, blah, blah, blah. And he was like, can I run with you for a bit? So I was like, oh, God, okay, so I'm going to need to keep running hard because I didn't want at this point to give any impression that I might be a little bit tired. So I picked up quite a lick going out of that point, more so than I would have done. But also I thought I was still chasing Peter at this stage. So I was running everything coming out of there, which Ed kept being like, this is a bonkers pace. And I was like, I know, I'm trying to break the bloody elastic. Which eventually I managed to do. He dropped back a bit. And then I think we kind of ended up just tracking each other from the point where I got far enough away that he then couldn't see where I was. I think I slowed up a little bit and we tracked each other. But yeah, that was a real high. And I think there were a bunch of things at play that day. Yes, there was a bit of like, they all went wrong. And so mentally for them, that was a bit of a drop. Then like I caught up and was looking like I was in a lot of a better way than they were. Whether or not that was the actual case is by the by, but I put out there, as far as everyone else could see, I was totally fine. And yeah, got into camp, and that was when Shane was like, oh, you've got ahead of the record by X amount. You've been the fastest today. The guys are all going to get like a 15-minute penalty as well. So I kind of knew that stage, right, I'm in second, and I'm quite substantially into second. I'm not just like just got into it. Like they're going to have to pull out a big day 5 to make the time back. So yeah, day 4 in the little navigational error, which day 4 there's no point in running anything other than what's on the GPX that you get provided. There's literally no way that you can make up any time particularly. So the fact that they messed up the nav on that day was quite funny.
It's great though. Like it's almost got Tour de France vibes, hasn't it? To it, when you're watching every day and like something can happen and it can massively change the leaderboard. I know that you were always in contention anyway for the overall win, but to see those like numbers change quite significantly, like psychologically going then into day 5 must have been really good.
Yeah, it was great. I think I was possibly too hyped at Camp 4, so I was just because in my head, through the first 3 days, I'd had I think I was really stoked with how day 1 went. Day 2, I was a bit annoyed about. Day 3, I was really annoyed. The first part of day 3 in Cada, I'd got all in my head. I'd messed up my nutrition actually on both of those days, just hadn't really eaten, and then started eating towards the afternoon, which both of those days I was stronger in the afternoon than the morning. Particularly day 3, I was stronger. That I'd made up time on everyone in the afternoon, or like the second half of that day, and so I was a bit frustrated with how I'd been running, and I'd kind of in my head almost discounted myself and been like, I've just cocked all of this up. But then day 4 I was like, I'm back in this, like this is great, like closed, I'm the only one within an hour of first,
back in the game.
Back in the game, but was way too like hyped about that. And then Jodie had an amazing day as well, so both of us were in this like manic state. I feel so sorry for it. We went into the mess tent and we were looking around, we're like, right, we need to sit down and like actually finally eat some food. We've been chatting with God knows how many people like trying to get into there, sat down next to 2 people, and we just had the most unhinged conversation about like treadmills that were too sweaty to run on and you start slipping, and also like doing a half marathon on magic mushrooms. And the 2 people that we were sat with were like silent throughout except for just giggling, like didn't engage in the conversation at all. Like,
you two just on a massive high.
Yeah, just on a massive random but it was great. But I think I probably didn't look after myself the best in camp that night. And getting into day 5, I was pretty positive.
You took a 5-minute mile out for the first mile on day 5, yeah?
just a zoom. But yeah, and then like again, I just didn't really do the first part of it that well. Didn't really fuel that well. Eventually, like came up out of this little funk that I had at the start. Started regaining on because so Dave caught me. So he started about like 3-4 minutes behind me on day 5 because he knew that he only needed to do that and then finish with me to be just over an hour ahead, and then we won't take it to a chasing start. So yeah, he caught me up as there's one point where you turn off the road and you go over this stile which is so dilapidated and it had completely fallen apart, and as I was going over there were 2 other well, I think they were hatchlings actually that were there, who gave me a hand because I got stuck in all of the brambles. And had I have not done that, Dave was moving at like quite a lick at this point, and he nearly ran straight past this turn. But no, I was stuck, basically highlighting this is the point where you need to turn off the road and go onto the because I was just in amongst brambles, just having a little squeal. But yeah, I didn't go so well on that point. So he'd gone a little bit ahead, and then I'd come out of that. I was feeling really good again, was powering up some of the climbs, and that was when my foot then gave up. So I was like, I'm in it. I'm not in it anymore.
And it can just change as quickly as that. But yeah, but you did hang in though, obviously, and we ended up finishing second overall. Yeah. So amazing.
It was, I think, day 5 was really tough because I've been looking forward to it so much. Like that's for me the bit of the course that I know the best. I grew up in Worcester. You can see the Malvern Hills on a clear day. You can see the Malvern Hills from the Brecons and vice versa. So I was so disappointed to not be running well over them. And the pain was really bad. So it ended up being, I think it was like tenosynovitis. So the sheath that your tendons run through on the top of your foot just got really angry, and it just felt like stabbing pains every time I put my foot down, and it would flex around anything, which off-road running, your foot is flexing kind of all the time. And yeah, there were bits that I was like having to walk that I would otherwise run, and the race was kind of out of the window at that point. And I think coming into Story Arms, I was wondering if I was going to be able to run another. Well, at that point, it was like another. I don't know, like.
Did you think the race was done at that point?
Yeah, I was. Wow. I was wondering if I was going to be able to pull out of there, or whether I was going to be like Victoria Thompson and have to pull out a story because I was there when she had to drop in 23, and I sat with her there for ages while she was clear, like obviously incredibly
distraught.
And yeah, understandably so. And I thought I was just going to be another case of that happening. But as I came down towards the checkpoint, I saw Ed, and he was also in a pretty bad way. So we decided that we were both going to hobble up Corndu with each other, and kind of got like a bit of a lick on with our hobbling, and just realised that we could kind of try and make it through, and we just needed to get to camp, regardless of kind of how it was going to be. Just get there and then get into the medical tent, get it assessed, and work out what was going to happen for the next day. Which I did, and taped me up, and the tape held well for 5k, but it's 65k on day 6. So
Jeez.
that was, and
it's a very painful 65k.
It was a very painful 65k. But having said that, it got to the point where the pain was, rather than being every bad step, the pain was every step, which then I could compartmentalize it and just deal with it. When it was like sporadic, when it was happening, it was harder to deal with. When it was just every step, it was like, oh, okay, this is life now. Life is just pain. That's fine. I can deal with that. So
have you recovered since? Like, I know now, has it been about a month after?
Yeah, so just over a month. So I took the first week, didn't do anything, then did a few bike rides, then did some just uphill only treadmill, which foot seemed to respond okay to. I've now done some done quite a few runs, and body seems all right. So
you're already thinking about next year then now? Yeah. Big question is, are you going to go back and go for the overall win now? What do you think? Are you has it given you a kind of a taste to do it again, or is it kind of one of those now where it's parked, you've done it, you've ticked it off the list, or what are your thoughts now for the future?
It's really tough. So if you had have asked me during day 6, would I go back and do it? Never again. Like
never going to Wales again.
Why would anyone do this? Like, what is this? Why do we put ourselves through that? But then, like, almost as soon as you finish, it all just goes, and it's such a high. Actually, before then, turning into the castle, that was such a magic moment. But yeah, I don't know. Like, a number of people have asked, and I think it is something where I probably would like to go back to it at some point. It is another thing where it's like, it is a whole year that if you want to do it properly, like, you need to go all in and do it with gusto. And there are a number of other things that I want to do. So, like, next year I've got OCC, and realistically I shouldn't do OCC and then Dragon's Back. So yeah, I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna be sensible. I'm not gonna do Dragon's Back next year. Whether it's something that I might want to do again at some point, yeah, I think it's another bit of like more people hearing about it. It maybe gets more competitive as well, which makes it more interesting. Like Max King ran it last year, so other international athletes are hearing about it. We've got, I don't know whether he'd want me to name him, but someone like one of the European Altra runners is pretty keen about doing it. So yeah, it's probably something that I'd love to go back and do. But for the meantime, whilst I didn't get the outcome sort of place-wise that I was wanting, I got so many things out of the week that I was hoping for. Like, I was racing against guys, like we were pulling tactics on each other. I was getting to engage in doing all of that, like picking when I was going to start in relation to when they were, having the mind games around camp. So on after day 4, we had this brilliant point where Dave and I were chatting with each other, and so if I'm looking at Dave, Shane just comes walking behind Dave and gives me this like wry smile, as he knows that the two of us are kind of talking with each other and not fully giving away how I feel. I think David asked me like, oh, so are there any good lines on day 5? I'm like, nope, none at all. So yeah, so we're chatting.
Follow Simon's GPX, is that what you said to
me? Yeah, because I had some like ones up on that I didn't want to share. So yeah, Shane walks by, disappears, and about like 2 minutes later comes over and is like, so what are we talking about? I was like, oh my God, just stirring the pot. But it was amazing. And yeah, the support that I got through the week, I think it would be really hard to emotionally have the same week that I had.
Yeah.
Mm.
I think I can't see a way of it being able to be topped just by how involved everyone got with it, whether it was people who were already sort of there and had been supporting the journey anyway, to people who had no idea what I was going to sort of attempt, and kind of found out about it as it was unfolding. And then the support that I've had after it as well. Like I don't know if it's something that I'd want to try and
Emulate
recreate.
again.
Yeah. It was really special.
Well, that's a good way to finish, I think, Holly. I mean, you've put down an incredible performance. You've laid a new marker down for somebody else to try and take up the mantle and have a go at now, haven't you, as well? And I think what you've done, not just in that race, but for the sport is incredible. So well
Thank
done.
you.
Yeah. And we're looking forward to seeing what's next for you. So, I mean, open page, obviously, open book, and plenty of other challenges out there. Maybe we'll go back to this one. But I think that's been a really good episode just to learn more about Dragon's Back, learn more about you, and hopefully get you on again at some point.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Because you know that you get like a gift on your third appearance, and it is a picture of me and Gary. So,
Gosh, I'll have to put in some good performances to make sure I get back for that then.
Yeah, I know that is going to be something to aim towards as well, isn't
Definitely
it?
not performance
2026
related
goal.
when you see the people that are coming.
If you want to see what you're going to get, there is a picture of me and Gary on the wall out there. It's still there. The one that it took Kirsty a week to notice it was there, even though she walked past it 20 times a day at least. But yeah, something to aim for, and obviously that'll be the pinnacle of your career then. But for now, let's leave for the pinnacle of your career as the Dragon's Back 2025. But well done.
Thank you very much.
And without further ado, we'll see you next Tuesday. What's he next Tuesday? But,
Yeah.
Good stuff. But thanks, Ollie. That was brilliant. Nice recap.
Didn't even touch on anything else then. Sorry, Ali, but
No,
it was interesting.
I knew there'd be a lot to talk about with that, because it's just such a unique race, isn't it? And like
so big.
I sort of know about the race, and I know the brief kind of way it works, but then just to understand like how the camping situation works and like the timings when you set off and the tactics, and
it's one of those ones, a bit like the Spine. Everyone talks about the Spine family and they go back and stuff. Like the only reason I'd go back to Dragon's Back is to try and recreate the atmosphere around it and stuff more than anything. And it's like, but actually, last time I spent it with Sam and stuff. Unless you were going back with friends, and I think it would be it's hard to top some of the previous ones, and you just go back for that more than anything. But like Holly said, you're quite sensible not just going back year after year.
It'd be really easy to, I think, just go back and just do it again.
'Cause
Although I feel like I'd stand on the start line and go, what have I done?
You can't recreate the stuff like you were doing as well, and like because it is a unique way of racing, whether you're in the top 10, the top 20, or whatever it is. Like the swinging of the hours, the tactics, and all that. It is quite unique, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think there's so many bits that you can focus in on as well with it. Like it's a really interesting race from a logistical and volunteering perspective. Like the stuff that they go through the week and all of that. Like the days that the volunteers put in, they're long. Like a lot of them have to have proper recovery periods after it.
That's not for me though.
And then you can just go into just all the bits around like camp life, like how do you look after yourself, like all of that sort of stuff. Then there's the bits on the actual route, and the weather, the like, oh gosh, it's just it's just there's so much stuff going on.
I suppose it's a bit like on a slightly different scale, but Jasmine in the Barclays now, there's no reason for her to go back and ever do that again, is there? It's I think it'd be difficult to replicate that. Similar to yours. I mean, I'm not saying you won't go back and do it, but you know what I mean, it's such an amazing experience and result this year that you can just enjoy that one now, getting them